Stems versus multi-tracks. One of the other most misunderstood things in the music industry. And I'll die on this hill too. Chogma Soshifo at DShack. I am a recording engineer and producer in and around Nashville, Tennessee. And if you are a new artist or new to the music industry, then please welcome in, take a seat, join the conversation. We're going to try to dispel another really big misunderstanding in music today, which is what is the difference between stems and multi-tracks? They're different. This is the second video I've done on this kind of topic. The other one is about the differences between a mixing engineer and a mastering engineer, which is kind of related to what we're talking about today. So if you want to watch that one, it's linked down below. Also, if you are a rookie artist and you're trying to figure out how to navigate your way through the music industry, then check out the podcast Successfully Unsigned, which I'll also link down below. And there's some great discussions there and some great interviews with local artists as well. But today, let's start the conversation of what is a multi-track, what is a stem, and if we understand multi-tracks, then understanding stems is a whole lot easier. So multi-tracks are kind of what the word describes. It is multiple tracks. So when you go into a recording studio and you record your music, all of the different instruments are going to have lots of different microphones on them. You know, a guitar cab will have a couple different microphones on it because an engineer might want the flavoring difference between a 57 and a 122. Or, for instance, background vocals. I like to record background vocals oftentimes with a different microphone than I record the lead vocal because they're going to sound different and help differentiate it when it's time to mix. Or drums famously have tons of microphones. A standard kit has 11, right? Or 12, but often, you know, some people go up to 15 or 20 or more. So you have all of these individual microphones that become sources, or that we call them sources, and they become tracks. When you bring it into Pro Tools or Logic or whatever you're recording in, you're going to have a track for your kick drum. You're going to have a track for maybe a sub kick or a kick out, and you'll have a track for snare, and you'll have a track for your hi-hat, and you'll have a track for this guitar and that guitar and the left side of the piano and the right side of the piano. You're going to have all of these tracks. You're going to have multiple tracks, and they're all laid out. And a mix engineer's job is to blend those together, to mix them together till you get a left and a right stereo mix. Well, there's our word right there. What about stems? Again, there's our word right there. Stems literally just mean stereo mix. I'm always confusing my left and rights when I'm looking at a camera because I think when I go to edit, I mean, this is left and this is right, but I think it's opposite. Anyway, stereo mixes is what a stem is. And stems are really useful for artists, but maybe not in the ways you immediately think. A stem is submixes of the overall mix. So when you are given a mix from a mix engineer, you're going to have a left and a right. Everybody that's listening on the radio is listening to the left and the right, the master stereo mix of all the instruments that are kept for the final recording and presented the way that it wants to, that everybody, the artist, the producer, everybody wants to present it. You get the main or the master stereo mix. Well, a stem is a submix of that. Before it gets there, you might mix all the drums down into two channels because we have, again, let's say we have 11 microphones. Well, we got to get it down into two. So oftentimes they're tracked in a way where you have a stem, a stereo mix of just the drums. And then you'll have a stereo mix of all of the guitars in a left and a right. So if you were to play it, all you would hear is just the guitars, or just the drums, or just the vocals, right? With all of the effects that go into it, all the reverbs, all the distortions, all the processing. You have these stereo mixes of each of these groups of instruments. How can that be useful? What could that possibly be for other than taking up space on a hard drive? Well, stereo mixes are really important for people who are, for instance, like DJs or remix artists, people in the EDM scene. They can get stems and take just the vocals of something and make almost a brand new song out of it. And it's fascinating, but it's going to have all that processing on there. So they're not having to remix from the start. They're not going to have to re-EQ the vocal to get it where it needs to be. I mean, they might do some creative things, sure, but they're not having to do all the fixes on all the edits and all the mixing from the ground up. They get to start from where the song already is, where it's already presented. to the public, where the sound that we're already familiar with. Stems are really important there. Sometimes stems are also really important if you are going to remaster a song. Sometimes all we have from like old songs are just stems, so they're used. Or perhaps it's time to go perform on TV or radio. Well, sometimes you'll get separate stereo mixes that don't have everything, right? There's a mix with no vocals. That way you can basically karaoke your own song if you're an artist on the Today Show. Or maybe there's a mix that has all the instruments but no background vocals and no lead vocal. And then you can have, your singers and dancers up there with you as well, and they're singing live in this. Or maybe it doesn't have this. Or better yet, if you are just playing a local show and you need tracks for something, let's say you don't have a keyboard player. If you have the keys stem from your song, you can give that, you can program that, through a playback rig and give that the output of that to the front of house engineer. And then the audience can still hear the keyboard or synth parts of your song that are maybe really important to it, but you don't have a keyboard player to actually play it live. Well, you still have the recording. You still have the stem of that. And so stems can be really useful. And if you're an artist, it's a good idea to ask your mix engineer or your producer to get you stems of your songs. However, you're not going to use them that often. And you as the artist, unless you're also an engineer, are never going to really use the multi-tracks. It's good for archival purposes that you have a copy, but it's not going to be the thing that is useful to you. You need the stereo, master mix, and the stems. And the stems are not going to be something you use every day. The master mix, of course, is what goes to the public, to your distributor, that the world hears. So, multi-tracks and stems, two different things. Multiple tracks that need to be mixed down, and then stems is one of the products of that mixing process. Again, it's important to have both. If you found this video interesting or if you found it helpful to you, let me know down in the comments what else you would like to hear discussed, and join the discussion down there yourself. As always, please hit that like, subscribe. That really helps me out. And if nothing else, and the most important thing is it gives me encouragement to continue sharing the things that have been shared with me. So, till next time, it's been DShack.